to research is well established. The regulations
I'm not talking about that now. I'm talking about Planned Parenthood. You said earlier you saw their videos, you were shocked.
Yes.
You still think they should get taxpayer dollars?
I don't think that was the Planned Parenthood videos that I saw. I do believe that Planned Parenthood should get taxpayer dollars because I believe it is an organization that benefits women's health
So
greatly.
before you said you were shocked, now you're saying it wasn't Planned Parenthood that you seen in those videos.
Alternatives that would get taxpayer dollars that don't provide abortion services, which so many of our constituents find wrong, and alternative organizations who've never been caught on videotape saying the shocking things, to use your words, that we saw from Planned Parenthood. Why not give taxpayer dollars to those organizations and not to Planned Parenthood? I mean, you said it was shocking. You thought you were shocked by it just like Mr. Meadows and I would.
This is true. The key thing, young thing, is to realize the status of the science and to understand that the researchers are doing this to create knowledge, to create medicine. That is why we are doing this.
Oh, the status of the science of killing babies?
Fetal tissue if there are not alternatives. I think that we should research into alternatives, but we cannot underscore how valuable the research is now, and that in many instances it is irreplaceable.
Cash money. Talk.
All right, Dr. Temple, let me ask you this last question. Do you believe it is harder to find a cure for some of the diseases that you've talked about than it is to figure out how to use non-aborted fetuses to do that research? Which is easier?
So I think that's a very astute question. In talking to somebody who is an expert on HIV/AIDS recently, they talked about the interaction of that virus with the human immune system and how complicated it is, and that we need to study that in the best possible model that we can, which is currently models like the BLT mouse. And this is ongoing research. If we were to stop this,
so let's assume I keep the same research going. I get. If you're in the middle of a clinical trial and all that, we've got. But what I'm talking about is going forward. So if we did not continue that, could the scientific community, the 4,000 people that you come up with, that you represent, could they not find an alternative out there that would provide the same clinical trials and the same research ability easier than perhaps even the disease that they're looking to cure?
So we have been trying to create a bone marrow niche for 60 years around the world. That type of niche would help to supplant the current humanized mice, the BLT mice that we use. We have failed after 60 years around the globe to recreate that bone marrow. I think that it is a tall order to imagine that we could do that.
So your testimony is, so I guess what you're saying is easier to cure HIV, cancer, and all the other things than it is to find an alternative in terms of researching on non-aborted.
I did not say that.
Well, I didn't think so,
Yeah.
but you keep avoiding the question that I asked. If I challenged you today and said, listen, we're only going to give grants, I'm not talking about existing research, but we're only going to give grants going forward on using non-aborted fetuses. So it would be discarded fetal tissue from research, maybe miscarriages, other things where you would actually get the same material to do research, but just by a different means. Do you think that the scientific community could figure a way to do research?
No, because
they want to
cure live babies.
So I'm
they want to take
explaining.
live
We
souls.
haven't done, in 60 years, we haven't been able to create the human bone marrow. Do we delay cures for 60 more years without any certainty of being able to do that?
We're talking over that, all right? So is there any way to research on bone marrow without an aborted fetus?
Currently,
I'm just talking about any.
course, but will it
Of course.
reproduce? Will it reproduce the essential properties of the current immunized mice that we use, the human immune system mice
That's
that we
the
use now?
question
And the
that he's
answer is
asking.
no. We cannot artificially create it.
Oh, wait.
Just like brain organoids are not the same as fetal
you're the
brain
scientist.
tissue.
So Dr. Temple, let me tell you the problem that my constituents have.
You're not even.
And this is literally, you can make the arguments for or against abortion. You can take a pro-life stance or a pro-abortion stance. You can make that all day long. What my constituents have a problem with is using their tax dollars to buy baby brains and baby eyes to do research when they find it abhorrent. I mean, do you not see why that we have this
immoral
issue? Because there's, we spent $25,000 on 30 pairs of eyes, and 15 of those were past 20 weeks in gestation. I mean, science is catching up. A lot of those aborted babies now are living because of what we've done with science. And so, do you see the conundrum that we're in?
I do.
Okay.
I do, and I appreciate it. But I think if you could convey that the researchers respect and are enormously appreciative of mothers who choose to make this precious gift, this donation, and that we take that tissue and we use it for potential life-saving therapies.
Dr. Temple, I can tell you, there are some who will accept that. There are most of my constituents who don't understand when you harvest baby parts, why that is okay. And I don't understand why you would do that. I believe that there are other alternatives. And so here's what I would ask you, since you don't agree with it. I ask each of you, all three of you, to come back to this committee. You've got some stuff to do in the next 30 days. So along with that, if you would come back to this committee with recommendations on how we could look at research done on non-aborted fetuses and what the cost associated with that could be. Because if there's a cost for us doing the moral thing, then I'm willing to help with that as well. And I know that new research methods may cost more, and that may be something that you're able to find bipartisan support. But if you could do that, is come with 3 recommendations that you have to the committee in the next 30 days. Dr. Sandra Lee, are you okay with that? Dr. Prentice? Dr. Temple? Okay. I thank you all for your testimony.
No, we need a tax-paying
if there's no further
checklist
business
at the end of the year to distribute
subcommittee stands adjourned.
accordingly to the constituents' will.